About that time, you already know your boy Duane Cofield in the building for Drug Dealers to Businessmen podcast. This is the weekly tap in, and I'm tapping in. What's cracking, y'all? Shrink my screen down a little bit so I can see what's going on. Hope all is well. Hope all is well, man. Thank you guys for joining me for another episode, man. We always try to get to it, man. This podcast is about motivation, man. We are motivating the homies to do things that they didn't think they could do, right? Whether that's talking to me directly, me suggesting a book, podcast, I don't have a problem with it, man. I'm just a conduit, man. And the thing about it is, it's like, like I listen to other podcasts and I'm like, man, I wish I could get to that. And I'm like, nah, bruh. That's what this whole episode is about, man. That's what this entire episode is about, man. One step, one brick at a time. And that's all it takes, man. A lot of times we get caught up thinking that we can move and jump the gun, move on to different parts of the process without actually paying our dues. And that's what this entire episode is about, man. I'm just tapping in right here, man. So this is episode number 12, season 5. One brick and one step at a time. There's no rush. There is no rush. And the reason why I say that is because this is where a lot of the angst, a lot of the anxiety, a lot of the, depression, rage, all these things kind of kick in because we think we're supposed to be somewhere that we're currently not, right? And our position isn't good enough, right? And there's always, you go in a line or whatever the case may be, and there's always that one person that's trying to cut. No matter where you go, whether it's the grocery store, whether it's at a amusement park, whatever the case may be, there's always somebody trying to skip the line. They don't want to wait. I'm beyond waiting. This is beneath me, right? And it's crazy, right? And I see that in life. Everybody wants to skip steps. Nobody wants to pay their dues. Nobody wants to sit down and go through what it takes to actually go through, man. And I've been listening to Rich Paul lately, LeBron James manager. He's been doing a lot of podcasts. So you can catch him on the Tim Ferriss podcast right now. Matter of fact, after you listen to this, I will go listen to that. And the way he was talking and just you listening to him and how he describes his step and how he matriculated throughout that whole system to the position that he's in now. And he was comfortable with paying his dues. And I was like, man, that's dope, right? If you can appreciate the steps in the process, if you can appreciate the steps as you're learning, because this is the thing, right? If we skip steps, I don't care what processes it is. If we skip steps, the end result is usually not what we expected, right? Let's just take the basics like baking cake. We just gonna skip the egg part. We just gonna leave that out. We're gonna skip this step. We're gonna skip, mashing the butter together. We're gonna skip the step with dough and letting it rise, right? We're just gonna skip that step, and as soon as we're finished with the dough, we're gonna rush in and throw it into the oven. And if you don't, it's gonna, you don't give it a chance to really get fluffy and all that good stuff. It's gonna be chewy and nasty, and everything has a process, including us. Everything has a process, right? We can't, you know, like in maturity, we have to learn how to become men. We're not just born men. We have to go through steps. We have to make mistakes. We have to learn. We have to watch and observe others, right? We talked about learning. What are the ways we learn? Observing others, going through experience, or hearing it from someone else. And even when you hear it from someone else, it's not actually, any experience or learning. So you're like, whatever. But the best experiences we have are those experiences. And he talks about that. What's going on, Joe? Appreciate you tapping in. And he talks about that. He's like, the best, because I think Tim Ferriss asked him, he was like, well, what is like the best thing you learn and, the most valuable experience that you can actually give to somebody in a nutshell? And he was like, it was my losses. It was the clients that I didn't get. You know what I'm saying? That was where I learned the most. And I'm starting to see a theme here, and I'm always on that. The losses is where we learn the most. L's aren't losses, they're learning. And we talked about that. Embrace your L's. You're going to get them. And if you don't get them, you're not in the mix. You're not trying hard. You're not in the arena scrapping. You're just a witness. You're just A fan, you're just somebody who speculates or who's a spectator, right? No one's actually who's putting in the work. So with business, each one of the businesses that I'm involved in was steps to success, right? I'm not even where and I say I'm saying we're not even where we are supposed to be with all our businesses, right? Because there's steps to take. And I remember reading Will Smith's autobiography, and one of the things that he talked about was his dad, and one of the most valuable lessons that he learned in that book was he built a brick wall in front of his dad's business, and his dad was like, don't look at the brick wall of like I got to build this whole entire brick wall, but look at it as one brick at a time. And you have to look at it like that. I heard Questlove say the same exact thing when he was being interviewed. He was just being interviewed by somebody. He was like, man, you can't look at like an entire mountain like, oh shit, I gotta walk all the way up there. No, you just gotta, it's one step after the other. That's it. You take a step, you take a step. All right. So what's my next step? Not what, oh man, I need to like eat, like say for instance, our chicken thing. Like, I need to be in get a hoodie award. Like, man, hold on. Open your kitchen first. You know what I'm saying? Like, take your steps, learn how to, operate an efficient kitchen before you start talking about hoodie awards. Make an excellent product. You know what I'm saying? You got to learn these things, and it takes time. I can't stress patience. These themes that I keep hearing, man, from everywhere, from all these successful people. Be patient. Things take time, especially good things. If you're on the right path and you have the right, vision, you see what it is you want, right? In terms of car, like, okay, let's talk about cars. I remember when I see homies come out with incomplete cars. They cars wasn't finished, and they have it out in traffic. I did that once with my Tahoe wasn't finished, like the grill while I was impatient. I just wanted to roll it because some of the things that I wanted were in there, like the beat was in there, the TVs was in there, whatever, right? But it wasn't finished. And oh man, I'm in traffic, not even realizing how embarrassing I'm really embarrassing myself. And a lot of homies do, oh man, it's hot out, oh, the engine tight, and it's primered out and ain't even finished. And you haven't went through all the stages and steps with this car. If you're gonna make it your toy, your project, then you need to go through each step and stage of the process, right? That's why it's really kind of hard for me to buy ready-made things, right? Because the real value is in that process, what you become, not what you create, but what you become in the process. That's the thing. You turn into a different person. You become like, even with me, I'm becoming a better speaker. So had I got my PhD or whatever way earlier, I may not have been as successful as I will be once I get it now because my articulation is becoming a lot better. I'm reading a lot more stuff, doing math every night. I'm going through the steps. I get it. You know what I'm saying? I understand that there's stages to every process. And success is not two steps. Let me go here and just let me be lucky. No, you have to go through them. And what are they, right? Don't be intimidated by the process. Don't be intimidated by the steps that it's going to be required to get to whatever it is you're trying to get to. Don't be intimidated by it. A lot of people retreat on their goals because there's steps involved. Because I can't hop, skip, and jump like the game is an illusion, right? Because we can hop, skip, and jump. But even then, you had to pay your dues. You couldn't start off with like your first introduction to the game, you selling keys and birds. That's that's ludicrous. You're gonna get killed like quick. You know what I'm saying? So there's stages. You got to start off with a dub, like or 50 up or whatever the case may be, and gradually work your way to a quarter piece and understand those games and that level and who you're dealing with that, selling rocks or whatever. And just these are all steps and stages, right? And you can't just do it overnight. And like I said, you're going to get your bell rung. So the same thing is going to happen in business. You got to take a few L's. I started Social Nerds Media, was a complete failure. Trash. Didn't do anything, right? Got swindled out of an idea from a client. It just didn't work. And I'm okay with that. I understand that there are steps in order for me to build a successful business, I have to build a bad one, right? In order for me to go and recognize what a good manager is, I have to go experience a bad manager. So I have bad managers, right? Which makes me a better manager. So I couldn't just have really good managers like, oh, this is good. So I wouldn't know the pitfalls. So every experience, like Jay-Z said, every experience is for your good. No, there's no bad experience. A bad manager, bad quote unquote job. There is no such thing. Each one of these things is building something in you, right? God is super intentional. So understand that. So whatever you're going through, whatever job you're at, whatever teacher you have, whatever experience is on purpose to let you know something. The key is, or the your job is trying to figure out what it means to you, right? Trying to figure out what the purpose is, because again, there are no accidents, right? I'm telling you. Right? So you have to. Yeah, so Liz, she said tower moments are amazing. You learn from them how to build back stronger. That's the only thing, right? Where do you gain the most when you're in the gym? It's failure. It's not on the lightweight. It's like, oh, man, I was dope, man. Everything was easy. I came out with no sweat. You probably came out with no gains either, right? So the thing about it is, you got to is this is one of those. This is a round world. It's a universe of give and take. It is, and there's a lot of people that feel like they can just take and not give anything. You got to pay your dues. And I used to be like, what the hell does that mean? That sounds kind of super generic. You got to pay your dues. What does that mean? You got to take the steps, right? Pay your dues mean that you're not getting around shit. You're not going to find shortcuts. And I understand. I get it, right? We're in the age of the Gen Zs, the millennials, everything's a hack or whatever the case. I get it. And I'm with that, right? Because listen, I teach Gen Zs. They've shown me how to hack life in more ways than you can think of, right? They're brilliant. I always look at them as the new models, but nonetheless, they're really no shortcuts, right? They talk about the success. You've seen that meme before that says there's only steps to success, and you got to take one at a time. You ever try to run and jump steps, like on a long, really long path going up steps? It's ineffective. There's a place out here in LA called the Culver City Stairs, right? And they got these big oblong, different kind of steps, right? Some are small, some are really big, some are like, you know what I mean? You got to really step, and it's one of the best places to really, really get your balance together, because each step is unpredictable. And in life, each step is going to be super unpredictable. Some are going to be big, some are going to be really small. You're going to be on a roll, be like, man, this shit is easy. And then you're going to run across something like, damn. But the key is, again, one step at a time. That's it. You shouldn't do any more than that. One step, right? Because in that one step, it's almost like, what's the term I'm looking for? Um, it slips my mind. But being in the moment, you got to stay in the moment, because there's all type of gifts in that moment. So whatever it is you're supposed to be learning, right? If it's patience, one of the things I have an issue with is patience. So we've been trying to get our restaurant along, this and this and that, and keep in mind that I'm inexperienced, so I have no idea how long this process is, step stages or anything. That's the thing about this game, is you're not going to know everything, right? And things are not going to come out the way you planned or predicted in the first place. So I have no idea how long it takes, no nothing. So I'm calling, hey man, you guys, and here I am rushing the process, even though God may have it in mind that, hey, I needed to take this long. I don't need it to take according to what you think. I need it to take this long because I'm doing XYZ that's going to make this not become a problem later for you. And you don't realize that, right? You trying to skip steps, man, rush the process. I can control this. I should be over here. We should be moving along to XYZ. Nah. Slow down, man. You got to let God work, right? You have to let him work. And you have to let him work within you at one stage at a time, right? When you're learning math, you got to set your foundation. You can't automatically go to calculus like, man, I know I'm sharp. Yeah, so what? You still have to understand the stages, the foundation, so that we can build on that, right? Professionalism, right? I learned professionalism by working in an unprofessional environment, thinking that I can get away with it. right? And thinking that that was the way things were going to always be. And what I also learned was how to be more of a professional because I saw some of the things that probably shouldn't have been done. So when you're working in certain environments that you're supposed to be learning in, keep in mind, right? There are no jobs that we just go to work and just sit there. We should be all in the business. And I'll say that again. There's no job that we should just be sitting there. We should be all in the business. And if we're not all in the business, then we shouldn't be there. We shouldn't take a job that we have no remote idea. Like, I'm not anywhere near going to go in this industry. Then why are you wasting your time? Go to the industry that you want and start at the bottom and understand every stage that it takes to get to the top, right? And what they're doing to get there, how the company was positioned, how they sell products, where they're getting their products, how much they're selling it for. You got to be nosy and super nosy because that a lot of times when you can't move up to the next step or stage and you're sitting there stuck on step 3, you haven't absorbed what you were supposed to absorb. You haven't learned the lesson you're supposed to learn. Like a video game, you can't advance to the next stage, dog. You didn't pass. You didn't do X, Y, Z. You got to do this and this and that. I know there's like an NBA 2K. They got like a Jordan thing, right? Where you gotta score 16 points. You got to get like 9 rebounds. And you got to win the game. And you can't do 2 of them. You got to do all 3 of them. And this is some of these stages in life. You're gonna have to do all. You're gonna have to humble yourself. Okay, you're gonna have to learn to cheer for others, right? This might be the stage where I got to learn how to cheer for others so that I can get my stuff up, right? So that others are cheering for me, even if I don't see it. So this might be the stage where I have to learn to be more organized. Perhaps my finances might be a mess. My structure may be a mess. So that may be the step and stage that I'm stuck at, right? And your steps and stages so that this stuff doesn't come in to bite you later or become an issue later in life, right? It may be you may be stuck at the stage where you're supposed to take the leap. That's the step 2, right? I can't get past step 3. I know you can't get off step 3 because there is no step 4. So you got to jump to step 4. And step 4, as far as you're concerned right now, doesn't even exist. So you got to have faith enough that God's going to put a step 4 out there once you take that jump off of step 3. That's some scary shit right there. I'm gonna just tell you right now, most people aren't willing to take that leap, not willing to trust the universe and God or themselves that there's going to be something there. Feel like if I take this leap, man, I'm going to jump off into this black hole. Now you might if you believe that there's a black hole there. But if you believe that you're going to soar, you believe that God is going to provide a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th step, then you're going to be more inclined to jump. And if you've jumped before, you're more inclined to jump again. That's the thing about it, right? So when you get to that, man, I've been to step. I went to step 3 on this. I remember this, but it came at step 7 on my last venture. So then I had to leap and I had to jump over into this thing and actually see and trust God, and it worked out anyways, right? Everything worked out, or we wouldn't be here talking right now. Keep it 100. So when you think about the miracles, and a lot of times we downplay them, God still got those things popping. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, CJ said it right there. Fear the unknown. Most of the time we scared. That's what scares us, right? It's not scary movies. It's not Freddy Krueger or Jason or anything like that. It's the fact that you don't know what's around the corner. The fact you don't know what's in that barn. It's the fact that you don't know what's out there for you is scaring you and terrifying you and putting you in a point of where you're not moving. Safety. I'm safe here, man. I don't have to do too much, right? But when you step out there and you take the step, first of all, depending on what your first step is, it might just your first step might be leaping. It might be. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm not advising anybody to leap anymore. You got to feel that in your gut. Don't do it based on what D said. Hey, D told me to leap, dog. Man, I'm about shit. That ain't because you wanted to, though. Right? So you got to have it in your gut, that gut feeling that I'm on the right path. I'm doing the right thing. I know it in my gut. I know it in my heart. I know I'm doing the right thing. It's gonna work out. And I believe in my whole heart, everything that we doing, me and my family right now, whether I see it or not, is gonna work out for future generations. That's what I'm putting it on now. So that's what I'm doing. And I know it takes one step at a time. We built online businesses. Now we're going to the brick and mortar. And then once we do that, then we'll see if we can expand into maybe 2 brick and mortars. and see how it is managing two different types of businesses, right? Because we've had experience with that. We've taken the steps, albeit on a smaller scale, but we've taken those steps, right? So we got to understand, man, what is our next move? What's the next thing that we need to be doing? What's our next step? Have we are we ready to take the next step? Right? Are we stuck on step 2 because we want to be? Because we think, step 2 is pretty comfortable, man. I don't have to jump, I don't have to move, man. I might sit my ass down on this step. Well, God will move you along when it's time. Trust me on that. Don't you worry about that. And he'll put it in front of you, man. And this is what it's going to take to get there. And the beautiful part about the time and place that we are right now, you can look up the steps and stages that it's going to take to get to where you need to get dream wise. I want to be a learner. I want to build this. I want to do XYZ. The internet is undefeated. At the same time, it is unlimited in the terms of information that it can provide. So you can start off on a certain question and go down a rabbit hole, and it takes you to a whole nother level of information, right? And you can find out what you need to find out, right? So we were looking at mailers, right? God put a bug in my ear. This is one of them random things we need to show up and pay attention because everything is intentional. God is super intentional. Put a bug in my ear about some mailers that we need to do. Googled it, looked it up, bam, 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 and we're going to be rocking and rolling pretty soon. So going back to everything is for your good is by paying attention to everything that floats across your desk. And what I mean by that is everything that comes across your way is for you to hear. So if you hear a conversation talking about this and that, you're thinking, "Oh, okay, I need to do XYZ, right?" So Rich Paul had made a comment on there talking about his dad, showed him how to shoot dice and play cards. And I was like, my dad did me like that too. He taught me how to shoot dice and play cards. And there's so many different lessons that my dad taught me that he brought out just by his conversation. So this is how God works, right? Just not only by you get influenced by random things that remind you of stuff. So that would be an entire episode of the lessons that my father taught me. Right, and it started with risk, right, off the bat, right. It started with betting on yourself, right. He taught me early in the game, don't bet on nobody else. He didn't teach me about side betting. He said bet on yourself if you're gonna do it. Taught me how people cheat in dice games. Taught me about cards. Taught me about believing in yourself. Taught me how to be, a stand-up cat with or without materials, right? So he taught me so many different lessons that I can take with me that I had to be reminded from a Rich Paul, which is a random way of doing it, of how amazing my dad was and how they had the best hustler that I ever knew. And he taught me so many critical lessons about life, so many critical lessons before he left. And that's what I'm trying to do with my kids right now, pass on these critical lessons. One, about believing in yourself. And two, you got one life, homie. Max this shit out. And what I mean by that is try it. You know what I'm saying? Like, look it up. You know what I mean? Like, don't just be passive in life. Like, man, I'll get to it. A lot of people say that, man, I'll get to it, and they never do. And I said this probably in the last few episodes, right? The one thing that people regret the most from an elderly standpoint is what they didn't do. Right? They got regrets. I wish I would have did this. Man, I wish I would have did more of this. I wish I would have pursued this. You don't want to be in that situation, right? But at the same time, like I said, there's no rush. Play your position, man. Enjoy the things that are in front of you. Those are the gifts. So don't be too far ahead. Don't jump steps. Don't be like, oh man, I need to go to step 6 and keep looking at step 6. Meanwhile, you're missing everything that's in front of you that you're supposed to be learning and enjoying. Because always gifts, lessons, and there's nothing for your bad. It doesn't work like that. Not unless you're on that side of the fence, right? But if you're working with God 100%, you straight. Everything, you got a protector, you got a deflector, you got a screen. It's almost like having a screen protector on you, right? When you're with God. So yeah, it might seem like it's going to penetrate, right? You might even flinch. Like I saw a guy flinching at the baseball. He jumped back and he didn't realize that the net was right there. And we're like that too. You know what I'm saying? Where we don't realize that we got a protective shield. We up there flinching mind what the enemy's doing. Fuck that. Dog, you don't have to flinch based on what that cat is doing. You know what I'm saying? Realize you got to protect the shield and carry on. Understand that. You know what I'm saying? God is still in the miracle business. It didn't stop with the sandals and whatever they had going on over there. Still popping right here. So you too can accomplish whatever you want. I'm promise you, I'm doing exactly what I want to do with who I want to do it with. I swear to me and God know what time it is. He gave me exactly what I wanted, the type of kids, everything. Now I had to go through some stuff. This is the thing though. I had to go through some stuff. My childhood was crazy, right? I was hustling. I didn't have a childhood. So basically from the fifth and sixth grade all the way up till I was like in my early 20s, it was hustling. The whole thing. Like there was no prom, there was no it was none of that. It was hustling, 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 and then hustling some more, and then hustling and hustling, right? And it wasn't until I started going to college that I really started letting that go. But you got to realize what I sacrificed up until then, right? So I was living a grown man's life at a young ass age. So I gave up a lot. I gave up a lot of innocence. There wasn't no, this is my girlfriend, mom. Hey, let come over to my house. Let's hang out, meet my parents. Let's go to dinner. Man, I was at the spot running a full blown crack house in high school. You know what I'm saying? So I swear to you, I'm not telling no lies. But anyways, um, that robs you of a lot of things. So, a lot of times you may get things on the back end, right? So this is what I'll say is I'm enjoying my stuff. And I don't feel like I have to work. Man, I used to be up all night, and then in the daytime going to go try to find work. From my like 15, 16. Like man, listen. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I mean. I'm like, man, I'm chilling now. And I don't feel bad. I'm like, I'm not in a rush. I'm not in a rush. I'm chilling. Like, and that was I had to check myself with even the dude being impatient with the dude. I'm like, man, let me slow down, homie. Because God's putting the brakes on stuff for a reason. I don't know why, and it's beyond my spiritual nature to know. God certain things that God does. Shit, we don't know why. We don't know what He means. We know He's not in the no business. We do know that. He's in the business that says, "Oh, well, you would prefer this though." He's not in the no business, right? Because if we just head stubborn and strong and just dead set on going after something, he will allow us to go knock our head silly, right? It won't kill us, but he'll allow us to go, make our own bed. But at the same time, this is the thing. At the same time, he also gives us an opportunity to do something different, right? You know what I mean? Okay, here's another option. Why don't you look at this option, right? As opposed to going this, he'll put it right there at the same time so that you can find it. A lot of this stuff is if you connect with God and get that thing down where you guys are in sync, you can start to move things with him, right? As long as I was sitting there saying to myself, I'm like, okay, I need to, because there's a phone in here where I'm at. I'm like, man, I can't find this phone. I haven't found it in 2 days. I said, all right, God, we need to get this phone, man. And I was gonna let y'all know if this phone rings, man, I couldn't find it, so it wasn't my fault. And as soon as I looked down, bam, it's right there in an odd spot, but right where I looked. And that's what I'm saying. Like me and God be having these moments, man, where it was so connected. It's so once you go through things, once you get saved by like you miracle stuff, like man, this dude didn't squeeze on me. I didn't go to jail, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Or I didn't squeeze on this cat, the gun jammed, and you like, man, and there's somebody got his hands directly on you. I mean, and gripping you and letting you go out, you know what I'm saying? Like you do a child. Let me let you go out a little bit and go learn that the fire's hot. But I reel your ass back on in. You know what I'm saying? That's the beauty. That's the part that I love about God is he won't allow you to stray for too long or too far. Period. He won't allow you to do that. So we have to focus on what's our next move. What are we trying? Ultimately, what we're trying to do, we need to set our goal. What's our ultimate goal? I want to do this. I want, whatever the case may be. I see podcasting is a thing for a lot of people now. So I want to start a podcast. Okay, I want to do 20 episodes per month. All right, cool. What's the first step? Why don't you get a mic? You know what I'm saying? Step two, okay, maybe I need to get a good mic, or maybe I need to get, a system or a platform. Maybe I need to find out how to start one. That may be step one, right? The homie had called me, tapped in, D, you still doing your podcast? This is how people get you too, man. Hey man, you still doing your little podcast? Like, yeah, I'm still doing my little podcast. But anyways, um, it's funny. I don't even trip anymore because I'm like, man, my ego is so cool. It's not, it ain't never like that on me. So I'm like, here, dog, here's where I started. Gave him the list, gave him the link. Now, what you do with it is between you and your in God. I know what me and God just did, though. You know what I'm saying? With no hesitation. Here's why I learned. Now you could take it and do what you want to do, and that's the thing about it. Basketball courts both exist, right? They sitting out there. Somebody's gonna go in there and really take advantage of that basketball court. They're gonna practice their ass off. They're gonna learn how to work that ball, the angles, to kiss it off the glass. And there's somebody that's gonna go out there and bullshit and talk and act like they played. So the proof is in the pudding, right? Of what you're gonna do with it, man. The gifts and the tools already exist, homie. So what are you gonna do with it? What's your next move? What's your next step? I'm challenging you all of y'all, right? That's the one thing about this. This is gonna be the accountability podcast. When you tap into here, I'm gonna remind you of your goal every week. Hey man, you work on that goal this week? What have we done? How have we moved the needle? And feel free to, hey, I ain't got a problem with being checked either. I want somebody to hold me accountable, right? What you doing, man? When you going? When's the next episode dropping? All right? When's the chicken coming? Right? What's up with the tours? Right? You still got the hair popping? Yeah. You want a wig, dog, or you want a wing? What you want? Yeah, the bus is ready to go right now, and that's keeping me in check. That's keeping me on deck, right? What's the date coming? Right? Okay. What else? What other side y'all gonna have? Okay, so start working on your menu. Okay, okay, okay. And this stuff slowly but surely starts to come. These are steps and stages. And you think about it, right? These are the parts of the process and the ugly parts where you're learning how to do graphics, right? I wish I could have kept, and I hope I find one of our first for our hair flyers. Were terrible. Worst ones I ever made. They was horrible. They were white, no border on them, no nothing. It didn't matter though. We had them. And they're iconic in a sense because they remind us of everything starts with step one. And the one thing that you don't want to do is compare your step one with somebody's step 50. And a lot of time we do that. We sit up there and compare ourselves and say we should be somewhere that we're not. These people been at it for longer. They've been doing it longer. My son, the same thing, been playing football. He's been playing football for 6 months, 6 or 7 months. Some of these cats, this is their fourth or fifth year. So yeah, the fact that you're even on the field with these cats says a lot about you. But keep in mind, you got to put in the time. You ain't putting in the time that these dudes put in yet. So when you get there, there's going to be somebody that comes on, but explain that process to them as well. With business, right? I've been doing business for a long time. I started off selling dope, but I've been doing business, counting money, transactions, doing inventory since I was 11 years old. So I got good at it, steps and stages. And I'm like, man, why am I wasting my time in a game that isn't giving me any returns? A game that's going to potentially put me in prison, get me killed or something like that. I'm good with my numbers. I know how to do business. I know how to show love, do all that stuff. My dad taught me that too. Man, one of the best lessons he taught me, dog. Got in the game. He said, man, look, get the double up. He said, man, look, this is what they selling for 20. He said, sell yours bigger than theirs. Just sell it bigger than that. He said, man, damn near make it double. He said, and that was that was profit and margin, right? We were just talking about that right now, right? Inventory turnover. I don't need to have a large margin if I'm turning my inventory over fast. He taught me that lesson before I even knew what it was called. Now I'm teaching that lesson in retail classes. So I'm telling you, like, this stuff comes full circle. You got to pay your dues. You got to walk your walk. One step at a time. One step. You can't jump. You can't skip. My son used to skip in the airport. Can't skip around with stuff. I'm going to just leap over this. It might be an important ingredient in that process that you're missing, dog. So why are you trying to skip? Why are you trying to cut lines? That's not right. That's not what we do. We're taking our time. We ain't in no rush, homie. We cool with it. You in a rush, man, there's something wrong with that goal. If it's got to go away, I get it. We ain't finna play football or basketball or anything like that, but everything else shouldn't be tripping. I'm not. Before I'm like when I was trying to like rush with the PhD, I gotta go do that. No, you gotta go figure out master that you get a good score on this GMAT so that you can pick and choose where you want to go get this PhD, homie. There's steps and stages to this process, dog. So that's what I'm doing now. Khan Academy, dog, every night. I'm on least figuring out the equation, estimating equations for least squares regression. What? But I'm knocking it down. I know what I need to do. SY or the what we trying to figure out. We get R times SY on top of SX will give you that number. And you multiply that, you're trying to figure out Y equals MX times plus B. You're trying to figure out. And I'm just going off the top of my head because I'm really reminding myself of the work that I just did or that I need to go do. So I'm talking myself through it. Steps and stages to this process, homie. You ain't complete yet, dog. Right? Don't come out like the homies all primered out on D's, right? Yeah, I'm on D's. Yeah, but go get your paint done. Finish that shit, dog. And put your beat in. Get your paint done. If you putting switches on there, finish that. Don't come out there, oh, just go up and down. No, finish, dog. You know what I'm saying? What's going on, Steven? Appreciate you tapping in, homie, all day, baby. But finish your shit. Don't come out incomplete. Right? You don't want to come out the gate incomplete because you might get tested. You might get challenged by the universe to let you know that you ain't actually ready. You ain't ready to come out the oven yet, homie. You need a little bit more bacon, dog. You need to spend a little bit more time in this. You know what I'm saying? I used to see cats in the game. They rushing. I remember they used to have the young cats coming. Oh, young such and such got it over. I'm like, yeah, all right. And I just sit there. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been at this stage. I got 3, 4, 5 years in the game. You know what I'm saying? But I'm still young, homie. But I'm looking at homie. I'm like, come and go, come and go, come and go. And you see that in a lot of instances, right? Let me grab some water real quick. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But that's the thing, right? Is understanding where you are too. Because we compare ourselves, and that's where really it kind of kicks in that kind of that angst, like, damn, I'm not. Oh, such and such just opened his second shop. Damn. You automatically, instantly start turning into Morton Man, right? Salty as a motherfucker. You like, man, all right, because of something they did, that's they on their timeline, dog. We ain't all on the same timeline. We didn't run this race and start together, man. They may have started earlier than you. You got to be okay with that and understand it, man. God still, but if he got blessed and you know that like this cat shady, just know yours is gonna be way bigger than that. Right? That's a hard one. Okay, this cat, I know he cut, he whoopty wham, but I know if he got blessed, my blessing's about to be huge, huge, huge. And and that's counting another person's pockets too. You can't be in other people's business. How they get blessed is just up to them. That's between them and God. It ain't got nothing to do with you, none of your spiritual business. What you need to be focused on is your next step and your next bricks. What's my next brick, right? What do I need to put it? What lesson am I learning in that, right? Let me slow my ass down. I'm not in a rush. I'm not rushing to try to go hop something, try to get to something that I think is going to give me this type of joy, right? Let me slow my ass down. Let me sit down and realize that there is a process. You ever see them? I remember I wanted to be one of them older 40-year-old, 50-year-old seasoned cats, like, man, that just smelled good, had a nice grip, had a nice car, everything was kind of in place. I used to see them cats all the time. I'm like, man, I can't wait. I want to be that where they were slow to respond to things. They didn't react fast or emotional and just had this equanimity about themselves that just like, man, Obama was like that, right? Just cool as fuck all the time. Like, man, that's what I'm on. Right. That's what I want to be. I don't want to be overly excited about anything. I don't want to be super let down about anything. I want to have a nice even kill, right? And work on what's my next step and enjoy the process because that's what it is, brothers. It's not the end result. It's not to try to leap to something. That's like opening all your Christmas gifts on Christmas Eve. It's gonna ruin everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, let Christmas Eve have its time. You feel what I'm saying? And really, yeah, you gotta go through each stage, right? Like, even like, and I get it, some cats got the talent to leap to the NBA and do all this stuff there. But there's some stages to maturity, right? To learn, like, okay, so I don't burn out, so I don't know these things. I didn't know these things. I could have learned them in here or in college. And like, I went to grad school. I went to a bunch of different stages. Now, granted, I didn't probably need all of them, but I learned something at each one, and God had me there intentionally. Again, remember, God is super intentional, and you need to be intentional with one brick and one step at a time. Make sure that you're putting the right brick where it's supposed to be, and make sure you're taking the right step. There is no rush. You can always retreat and come back and say, you know what, that wasn't a good step. Let me go back and let me go in this direction. The one thing that we have on this earth are choices, right? We have the ability to choose. We can put whatever direction that we want. There's nobody holding us hostage. So when you make choices, right, keep in mind, like, okay, I got the end goal in mind. I know it's distant, but what steps and stages do I need to take in order to get there? Okay, cool. What's step one? I'm doing that tomorrow. I need to call down to I need to get my social security card, whatever the case may be, right? Let me call down a step. And a lot of times, man, shout out to my relative. She was like, she posted something that said she'd been putting something off for like a year and it took 10 minutes. Right. So a lot of stages we think that we're trying to avoid because we think they're going to be, distasteful or uncomfortable. When they ain't shit, right? A lot of times things are more intimidating or have the illusion to be more intimidating than they actually are. Take the step any damn ways, right? And if you don't see a step, man, trust in God that He will provide one. So right now, that will conclude the weekly tap in for this week, man. My suggestion, book wise, I'm reading this book called um Rare Breed. I'm not convinced it's a good book yet. I'm gonna just let you know that I was at right now. So let me fall back on my book review. Let me get back with y'all next week and let y'all know the full thing before I might return it because I'm looking for a good book. So let me know. But I think I may find some other ones that are really good as well, and I'll let you guys know. Marcus Aurelius, of course. But I wanted this book to be good. It's called Rare Breed, but I'm not 100% certain. So I will let you guys know. Other than that, I appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, man. Share this with someone who you think may be interested in this podcast. And you always got to believe in yourself. That's step one. Step one is the first step. Believe in yourself. Tap it out. Have a good week, y'all.